So there's this weird phenomenon with women where the more a woman senses that you're trying to impress her, the less impressed she actually becomes. So if that's the case, how do you attract a woman? How do you impress her? Well, in this video, I want to give you 5 ways to impress and attract a woman without seeming like you're trying to impress or attract her. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and one of the things I always hear from guys is, how do I get a woman attracted to me? What do I have to do or say to kind of capture her attention and her interest? Well, I want to share 5 sort of weird, counterintuitive ways to do it, because the reality is most guys, the average nice guy, gets this wrong because he goes into an interaction thinking he's going to impress a woman by bragging or by being, really nice to her and doing her favors, or maybe he thinks that if he listens to her problems and agrees with her and shows her that he has a lot in common with her, that's going to impress her and get her thinking, oh, this guy would make a good boyfriend. But the reality is, those things, they may give her the impression that, oh, you're a nice guy, and maybe she might be thinking, oh, this guy's comfortable, I don't mind talking to him, but she's not gonna feel that attraction to you that she feels towards guys that handle this whole thing differently. And I wanna talk about the ways that the guys who get this, the guys who naturally impress a woman without trying, the things that they're doing. So let's get right into it. And I want to go through 5 of them right now. So to start with, and this is probably the least sort of counterintuitive or weird one, yet most guys miss this, or they forget to do it when they're with a woman that they're actually attracted to. And that is speaking the language of attraction, right? Which is flirting. Flirting is the language of attraction. And if there's one skill that you want to master when it comes to impressing a woman, it's this ability to flirt. Because flirting is this sort of under the radar thing, right? You're talking to a woman, you're flirting, she knows what's going on, you know what's going on, but it's all unsaid. And for women, that's more exciting to them, right? They like the tension, they like the build-up, they like the anticipation, the subtlety of it. And that's why a lot of times if things are going really well with a woman and you're having this conversation, and then you do a really direct compliment, oh, you have really pretty eyes, or you're such a cool girl, it kind of lets the air out of the balloon a little bit because it disseminates that tension. The longer you can keep that tension going, by flirting with her, the more her attraction to you begins to increase. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that, like I said, all of these things, the anticipation, the build-up, the subtlety, that's what actually turns a woman on. Those are the things that get her engaged in a conversation. But the second reason that flirting works really well is because it demonstrates to her that you get it, that you're probably used to talking to women and that you're not nervous around her and you can kind of handle your own with her, which in and of itself shows that you have social intelligence. It probably displays pre-selection to her. Pre-selection means that other women want you, because if you're this comfortable flirting and this good at flirting with her, she's gonna assume you must have experience with other women doing this as well, which impresses her. Now, a lot of guys go, well, what is flirting and how do I do it? And the easiest way to start flirting with a girl is to simply tease her. And when you tease a woman, you always wanna tease her on something sort of ridiculous, something fun, something playful. This isn't like bullying her or teasing her in a really sarcastic way that maybe you would tease one of your buddies. It's more of a playful way. And a lot of times you just look for her to say or do something that gives her the opportunity. So maybe if she does something that's a little diva-ish, you could say something like, wow, you're such a diva, I love it. I could totally see you on Housewives of Beverly Hills, like yelling at your nanny. So when you do that, you're being playful, you're throwing in the word, you're such a diva, I love it, right? That I love it lets her know that you're not criticizing her, right? You're being playful, but you're also kind of teasing her a little bit. You can do this about a variety of characteristics. Maybe tease her about being gullible. If she's talking about studying a lot or staying, you can say something like, I bet you spent a lot of time in the library when you were a little kid, right? You're teasing her about things that are playful. That's the nature of it. And teasing is really flirtation. If you ever want to know if a girl's flirting with you, she's teasing you. That's how you know. It's sort of that code, like I said, it's the language of attraction. It's the language of, it's sort of a code language. And the minute you start speaking it, you both know what's going on, which is why it's so effective. So that's the first way you impress a woman, is you flirt with her. Now, the second way that you impress a woman is you let her impress you. This is a little counterintuitive, right? Let her impress you. We are most impressed by people that are genuinely impressed by us. And that's the key word, genuinely impressed. We are impressed when we feel like we earned it. Here's what I mean. A lot of guys, if they're talking to a woman and she says something like anything, right? Anything that is a positive trait of hers. Maybe she'll go, oh, I just got a promotion at work, or I just moved to a new apartment, and they're immediately going to validate her, right? They're immediately going to go, oh my God, that's so cool. Congratulations on your new job. And when you do it that quickly, she doesn't feel like she earned it. She doesn't feel like she worked to impress you. So in essence, it's slightly hollow to her. It has a little less meaning. It doesn't really impress her. What impresses her is when she feels like, oh, he gets it, right? He really gets me. So maybe if you're talking to her and she tells you that she spent a year living in Japan, what are most guys gonna do? Most guys are gonna go, oh, that's so cool, how was it, right? That's 90% of the guys out there, that's what they're gonna say. That's so cool, how was it? On the other hand, if you wanna let her work a little bit to impress you, you use what I call non-judgmental qualification, meaning you ask her like sort of challenging but non-judgmental questions. You might say, oh, really? What made you choose Japan? And then she'll probably give you some sort of half-assed answer. Well, I always liked the culture of Japan. And instead of going, oh, that's cool, like most guys would do, you go, culture, yeah, I'm a little familiar with Japan, but what exactly about the culture do you like? And then she might go, well, it has this history, and it has this, and it has that. And you kind of dig a little bit deeper, right? You appear genuinely curious. And then eventually, when she's talking about it and you see her getting really excited, because that'll be what happens, right? When we're talking about something we're really passionate about, you'll notice her getting really excited. And at that point, you can say, wow, that's like really awesome that you were able to go live somewhere that you're this passionate about, because most people like never take that risk. Most people are just like kind of lazy and would never actually do it. And the fact that you did it is really cool. You're totally adventurous. I love it, right? Now you've really validated her because you let some of her passion out, and then you validated that instead of just invalidating a fact that she gave you. So you'll want to always let her work to impress you. The more she's trying to impress you, the more that your validation matters to her, and the more impressed she actually becomes with you, because you're recognizing it. You're not giving it away, so you're not giving your validation away so easily. You're really recognizing what she really has to offer. And that's what, especially an attractive woman who every guy out there seems to be into, she wants to feel like this guy gets me, right? He's not just into me because I'm a pretty girl. He actually is into me. He's into my interests and my passions. And even though you don't have to fake that I'm into Japan too, right? A lot of guys might do, oh, Japan's so cool, I love Japan too. Instead, you admire the fact that she likes it. You don't have to bond with her and say, I like it too. You just admire her interest in it, right? You let her impress you. Now, the third thing that you want to do is you want to use tests to your advantage. What do I mean by that? If you've watched my other videos, you probably heard me talk about how women instinctively test men. They do this without even thinking about it, where it's sort of their way of deciphering how confident you are, how cool you are, where you're coming from. And a lot of times they do this by making comments to see how you react to them. They might say something like, if a conversation is going really well, a girl might go, don't get any ideas, I'm not going home with you, or I'm not hooking up with you tonight, I'm not gonna kiss you. She might say something like that. She might call you a player, she might tease you. A lot of times she might criticize something about you, right? Maybe you're wearing an earring and she might say, why do guys wear earrings? I don't like guys wearing earrings, right? She's doing this subconsciously to judge how you react. And There's a Bruce Lee quote that I really love, and it's like, any weapon that your opponent thrusts at you, it's a convenient target for you to destroy. Meaning, instead of getting nervous when a woman does this, actually look at her tests as a way to impress her, because the less reactive you are to these things that she says, the more your value goes up in her eyes. So if a woman says to you, I don't like guys that wear hats, baseball hats, and you say, oh, cool, thanks for the fashion advice, like, and don't even care, you just impressed her. Because a lot of guys, nice guys especially, are going to start defending themselves and go, oh, I like this hat, and you don't like this hat, and they're gonna get visibly upset that they didn't impress her. But when you go, when you seem totally unfazed by it, it actually boosts your value. Same thing if she says something like, and I had a girl say this to me, where we're talking and we're flirting, and she'll say something, I'm not gonna sleep with you. And a lot of guys in that moment, they get like a deer in headlights. Oh my God, and I didn't think you were gonna sleep with me. I was just talking, and they start defending themselves. And then when you do this, it's like part of her brain is like, like you lose a little bit of attraction. But on the other side of the spectrum, if you handle it like, of course we're not, like, and you just let it shrug off, that's actually impressing her. So instead of getting nervous when a woman throws one of these tests at you, be like Bruce Lee and look at it as a convenient target for you to increase her attraction. So the next way that you can impress a woman is teach her interesting things. You don't need to go overboard on this, but kind of having interesting things to tell a woman impresses her. And it's really important that you do this with things that are sort of universally interesting, meaning if you're really into computer algorithms, that might not be interesting to her. So what I always say is, the most interesting thing to all of us is essentially two things, right? One is ourself, and we'll get to that in a second, but the other is social dynamics, psychology, interesting things like that. So an example, and you can find these things anywhere. It doesn't require you like learning a ton. I was actually just watching a TikTok video before recording this, where it was a guy talking about how you can tell if somebody's an introvert or an extrovert by facial features, and that introverts have a smaller upper lip, they have recessed eyes, and they have a smaller mouth. And it was interesting because I'm an introvert, and I'm like, oh wow, that actually described me. So just telling a woman something like that is going to be interesting. You're teaching her something interesting. Another example that I've talked about is eye accessing cues, right? Where you can tell things about somebody by where they look when you ask them a question. So if you look to your right, it signifies that you're going into your memory to retrieve that information. So these things are easy for you to learn. It doesn't take a long time. You can literally Google some stuff, you can watch some videos, and you can find little tidbits of information to share with her. It could be, another topic that's sort of universally interesting is travel. So maybe if you've been somewhere and there was something interesting that happened there, you can tell her about a culture that was something that she wouldn't have expected, something that she would find interesting. These are things that impress her. My girl actually said that to me once. We were talking and she's like, I just like when guys have like interesting things, when they know things, when they seem worldly, right? And this is especially true. I have a lot of older clients, and this is one thing I always tell older clients, is that if you're older than a woman and you're going after a younger woman, she kind of pre-imagines that you have more experience with the world with her. So play into it and have things to tell her and teach her about life and about social dynamics that are interesting to her, because it will boost it'll boost your value and it'll impress her. Now, piggybacking off of that last one is demonstrating an authority over her world. So demonstrating authority over her world. The reason that this impresses a woman is, one, it makes you seem really intuitive, but the other reason is that when you seem to kind of get her and her world, she assumes that you must have a lot of experience with women. Pre-selection is very attractive, right? Women are biologically programmed to want to be with the guys that other women want to be with. I don't know why it's that way. It's evolution. Millions of years have evolved women where that's one of the ways that they decide if some guy is attractive is, do other women find him attractive? And when you demonstrate authority over her world, like you've been a part of it, she naturally assumes, oh, this guy's been around women, he knows women, he understands women, and it boosts your value, it impresses her. So there's a few ways to do it. One of the ways that you can do it is through something as simple as cold reading. And don't get intimidated or kind of roll your eyes at what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be like cold reading, like palm reading, cold reading type of stuff. It's just where you notice her and you make statements about it, right? So maybe she's telling you something and you say something like, you really seem like an intuitive person. Like you just can kind of size people up really quickly. I bet that whenever your friends bring a new guy around, you automatically can tell if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And whenever we give somebody this sort of label, so to speak, our brain naturally looks for ways to reinforce it. What I mean by that is that Robert Cialdini talks about it in his book, Influence, where when you set something in somebody's mind, they go into their mind and look for things that mean that's true. So even if she was wrong about 50 of her friends' boyfriends, she'll go into her mind and go, oh yeah, that's true. I was right about Jenny's boyfriend. He was a jerk and I thought he was a jerk. And you're immediately gonna get credit in her eyes, right? That's what's kind of great about cold reading, is that when you tell her something about herself, she's gonna look to see, her mind is gonna focus on that, and she's gonna look for all the things that prove that that's correct. So that's a really fun thing to do to demonstrate authority over her world. Other fun ways to do it is using little personality type games. One of my favorites, John Sin, I don't know if he came up with it, but he's used it, is the Strawberry Fields personality test. And I'll put a link to it below because I have so many of my clients actually started using this, and it's so fun to do with women. It's essentially you're asking her several questions in the course of a game, and then at the end, her answers to those questions reveal certain things about her. And then you read that back to her and you tell her things about herself. And again, whether these things are accurate, whether they're not accurate, it just demonstrates an authority over her world. It's interesting to her because, listen, most guys aren't doing this. Most guys are talking about their job and where do you like to go for fun. So when you're adding all these things into the conversation, you naturally become more attractive to her. You naturally start to impress her without seeming like you're trying to impress her. If you noticed, none of these things involve telling her about your job or how hot your last girlfriend was or all the places you traveled. You're really talking more about her. Almost every example I gave is you talking about her, right? Flirting and teasing her, telling her things about herself, letting her impress you by digging for more information before you validate her. It's all about her because ideally and ultimately, she is the most interesting person in the world to herself. We all are. The most interesting person in the world to me is me. The most interesting person in the world to you is you. And for any girl, she's the most interesting person in the world to her. So if you shine that spotlight on her without smothering her with attention, that is really, really enjoyable and really, really impresses her. So if you want that Strawberry Fields personality test, I'm gonna leave a link below. John gives it out for anybody who wants it. And if any of these things that I'm saying seem to be counterintuitive to you or you don't quite understand it, I have a test of my own where you go through and you answer several questions and then you'll get your results, and it pinpoints exactly where you might be messing up, mistakes you might be making. A lot of guys think they're doing everything right, and then they take this test and they realize, wow, I handled this, and this situation wrong. So if you like this video, hit like, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment letting me know what you want to see in the next video.